Welcome back to Monster Tamer, our 2D Pokemon-like RPG created Phaser 3. In our last video, we started working on updating our battle scene to have our new states we'll need for our NPC battle. We also worked on refactoring our logic tied to when we want to show a message to our player and wait for our input. If you haven't seen the previous episode, you can find the link in the description. As always, you can grab the project source code up to this point, along with the completed code for this video, from the links in the description. I'll also include any assets you'll need to follow along, so let's get started. Now that we have our new states in place, we need to start adding in our logic to have our NPC show up at the beginning of our battle. For this, we'll make a new class to represent our NPC, and this will be similar to like our enemy battle monsters, where we'll have our phaser game object that will show up, and then we'll have our methods for playing our animation when we want our game object to appear and disappear. To create our class, let's go into our source code, under our source folder, Battle. We'll make a new file. We're going to call this Enemy Battle NPC. Let's export out our class. So we'll do export class Enemy Battle NPC. So now for our class, we'll need to keep track of our phaser scene, our phaser game object that we create, and then we need to skip our animations. So I'm going to open up our battle monster class. Let's copy our property for our scene, our phaser game object, and then skip battle animations. So now for these properties, we're going to make these private, so we'll remove our protected keyword. We'll change this from an underscore, and we'll do our private property. So let's add our constructor. And now we go to create an instance of our enemy battle NPC, we'll need a configuration object. So we'll add in config. And let's go ahead and define that config. So if we go into our type definition file, let's copy our battle monster config. We'll update our name, we're going to call this battle NPC config. So for our object, we're going to have four properties. First, we'll have our phaser scene. Then we'll want our asset key that we want to use for our NPC. We'll have an optional asset frame, so that if we pass a spreadsheet, we can use that frame. And then we'll have a property for skip battle animations. So if we come back to our enemy battle NPC, we'll add in our type. For our type, we'll have our battle NPC config. So in our constructor, we'll store a reference to our properties. So for our scene, this will equal to our config, and then our scene. Skip battle animations, this will be equal to our config, and we'll do our skip battle animations. We'll add a fallback, and we'll do false. And now we want to create our phaser game object. So for our game object, we want to reference our scene. We're going to do add. And now we want to create our image game object. So now for our game object, we'll need our X and Y values. For now, we'll do 0, 0. We'll need our config, our asset key for our asset we want to use. And then we'll pass in our frame, if one's provided. Otherwise, we'll fall back to 0. And now when we show our NPC, by default, we'll want this game object to be hidden. So we'll do set visible. We're going to do false. Now we're going to update our scaling. We'll do set scale. We'll do 0.8. So now for our NPC, we're going to want this to appear in our battle scene, just like our enemy battle monster. So if we go into our class, we'll go into our enemy battle monster. Let's copy our enemy position object here. We'll add that to the top of our file. Now for our position, we'll keep the same X, but for our Y value, we'll do 176 since our game object's a little bit bigger. So now we'll update our X and Y value. So we'll do an enemy position X, and we'll do our enemy position Y. So just to make sure everything's working, we're going to update set visible to be true. Let's go into our battle scene, and now we'll want to create an instance of our class. Go into the top of our class, let's add a new property. So for our property, we're going to call this enemy battle NPC. We'll add in our type. So our enemy battle NPC, go down to our init method, we'll initialize our value. So we'll have our enemy battle NPC, we'll set equal to undefined. Let's go down to our create method. And now after we create our enemy battle monsters, let's create our NPC. We're going to check to see if we're in a trainer battle. So if this is a trainer battle, then we want to create our game object. We'll do this, our enemy battle NPC will be equal to our new enemy battle NPC. Now for configuration, we're going to pass in this scene. For our asset key, we'll reference our scene data, our NPC, and then our asset key. And for skip battle animations, we'll reference our skip animations property. So real quick, on our enemy battle NPC type, this could also be undefined. So we'll update that. So now if we save, let's go ahead and start our battle. We should see our new phaser game object show up in our scene. So now that we have our game object, we want to add in our animation for having our NPC appear. So let's go into our enemy battle monster. Let's copy our method for our play monster appear animation. We'll come back to our enemy battle NPC. We'll paste that in. We'll update our method name. We're going to do play appear animation. Instead of passing in a callback, we're going to have this method return a promise. So we'll get rid of our parameters. We'll do returns. We're going to do a promise. And our promise will return void. So now we'll want to wrap our code in a promise. So we're going to do return new promise. For our promise, we want to do our resolve. And now we're going to take our code and place it inside our promise. So now we just need to update our references. So we'll update our phaser game object to be our private property. We'll do the same thing for skip battle animations. And now instead of doing our callback, we're going to call resolve, and we can return early. Down here, we'll have our phaser scene. We'll keep our same configuration. We'll update our target. And now on complete, we want to call resolve. Finally, we just need a method to hide our game object once we want to disappear from our scene. So we'll add in hide. Now in this method, we're just going to call setVisible, and we'll set it to false. So we'll have our phaser game object, setVisible, pass in false. We'll copy our type. And then for our return type, this will just be void. So now if we come back up to our constructor, we'll default to our game object not being visible. So now if we come back to our browser, if we talk to our NPC and start our battle, our game object is no longer visible. With our methods in place, let's jump over to our battle scene. And now we want to show our NPC game object before we show our enemy battle monster. So if we go to our pre-battle info NPC state, first we'll want to show our NPC. So we'll want to do await. We'll reference our enemy battle NPC. Now we want to do play animation. For our method, we'll make this async. So after we have our NPC show up, now we want to show a custom message to the player. For this, we're going to use our NPC's name and say, our NPC would like to battle. So let's do this. We're going to do our show messages and wait for input method. For our array, let's reference our scene data. We're going to grab our NPC. We're going to grab our NPC name. So we'll say our NPC would like to battle. Now for our callback, we'll want to hide our NPC and then transition to our pre-battle info state. So we're going to copy this code, place it inside here. Now to hide our NPC, we'll just reference our enemy battle NPC and we'll do hide. So now if we save, let's talk to our NPC. Once our scene starts, we shouldn't see our enemy battle monster. Oh, it looks like we have an issue. Our enemy battle NPC isn't showing up. So if we come into our class, let's go to our play animation method. Oh, instead of doing set alpha, we want to do set visible since we're using that property to hide our game object. So now if we test again, our battle will start, our NPC will show up, move across our screen, we see our text. Once we hit our key, now we see the monster we want to battle. So now we just need to update our text. Instead of saying a wild ignivote appeared, we want to say our NPC brought out this monster. So go back to our battle scene. We're going to go into our pre-battle info state. And here we just need to update our text. So we're going to add a new variable. So we're going to do const, we'll do text will be equal to, if this is a trainer battle, then we'll show one message. So for this message, I'm going to copy our string here. And we'll do our NPC name, brought out, and now our battle monster name. So we're going to copy this. Otherwise, we want to fall back to doing our string for our wild monster. So now we'll just update our array to use our text variable. So now if we talk to our NPC, after our NPC shows up, we see our monster, and we'll say junior trainer brought our ignivolt. Nice. Now, we just need to modify when our battle ends. Right now, once we defeat our enemy battle monster, we show wild, monster's name fainted. We'll want this to be dynamic, just like our text at the beginning of our battle. So if we go to our post-battle sequence check method, right above where we add in our text, wild enemy monster fainted, we'll do const text equal to this is trainer battle. Let's copy our string here. Instead of doing wild, we're just going to show our monster's name. We'll say monster name has been knocked out. If it's not a trainer battle, we'll show our text that we show right now. We'll copy that, we'll paste it. Let's update our array to use our text variable. One last change we'll want to do is at the end of our battle, after we defeat the enemy battle monster, we'll want our NPC to reappear, and then we'll display our messages that we're passing in to our scene data for when our trainer loses. So for that, we'll want to go to our gain experience state. Then down at the bottom of our state, after we update our experience bar, we have our check to see if we caught the monster. If we didn't catch the monster, then we go to our finished state. So now before we transition to our finished state, there's a few things we're going to want to do. First, we'll want to make sure all of the battle monsters for our NPC, they're actually defeated. If they're not, Then we'll want to go to our NPC switch monster state. If all of the monsters are defeated, we'll want to hide our monster and then have our NPC reappear. So adding these changes, first we're going to check to see if all the monsters have been defeated. So we'll do const and we'll do has other active monsters will be equal to this, our scene data, our enemy monsters. We'll use the sum method. And now we just want to check to see if any of our monsters in our array, if their health is greater than 0. We'll return, we'll say if our monster ID does not equal this, our scene data, our enemy monsters, our active enemy monster party index, our ID property, and that monster's HP is greater than 0, then we want to return true. And so if that returns true, then we need to transition to our other state. So we'll do if has other active monsters, and we'll do this, our battle state machine. We'll do set state. Now we want to do our battle. We want to do our battle states. Now our NPC switch state. Then we'll return early. Otherwise, we've reached the end of our battle, and now we want to check to see if we're in a trainer battle. So we'll do if this is a trainer battle. Now we'll want to hide both of our monsters in our scene. So we're going to do this. Let's do our active player monster. We'll do our play death animation. And now in our callback, after we hide our monster, we'll want to hide our health bar. So we'll do this. Our available monsters UI container for player, we're going to call set alpha, set it to be 0. And now we want our NPC to show up. So we're going to do await this, our enemy battle NPC. We'll do play appear animation. And now we'll want to show our trainer loss messages. So we'll do our show messages and wait for input. For our array, we're going to reference our scene data, our NPC object, our trainer loss messages array. And now in our callback, we want to transition to our finished state. So then inside our if block, we'll just do return, so we return early. Now for us to be able to use the await keyword, we need to add async to our callback here. So if we want to test our changes, we'll come back to our browser. Let's talk to our NPC. We'll go ahead and do our battle. So now once we defeat the enemy battle monster, we should see the monster has been knocked out. We gain our experience. We reach the end of our battle. Oh, and now we have an issue. We're not able to process our input, so we'll need to fix that bug. Now to fix our issue, after we defeat our enemy battle monster, and we do our check to see if there's any monsters left that have their health greater than 0, we're detecting that our monster is still alive. What's happening is in our post-battle sequence check, we never updated our scene data for our enemy monsters. So right now we have logic in place where we update our current HP based on our active player monster. We'll want to do the same thing for our enemy battle monster. So let's copy this line of code. After we update our data manager, we're going to do our enemy monsters, our active enemy monster party index, their current HP will be equal to our active enemy monster. One other change we'll do while we're here is in our method, we want to make sure we lock our input before we do any of our checks for our show messages and wait for input. So we're going to do this.controls, lock input, will say equal to true. And then we'll want to go into our npcs.json file. Let's update our NPC to only have one monster. So now we should be able to do a full test, but to make this a little bit easier, we're going to update our monster's HP. So we're going to set our current HP down to 1. So now if we come over to our browser, let's talk to our NPC. They'll bring out their monster. After one attack, they should get defeated. Enemy's been knocked out. We gain our experience. Our monster disappears. And now our NPC shows up with our message, you defeated me. One last thing we'll want to fix is we'll want to hide our enemy monster's health. To add this logic, let's go into our enemy battle monster class. We'll go to our play death animation method. So now in our play death animation method, we'll want to add in a tween to animate our health bar like what we do with our player. So if we go into our player battle monster class, we'll go to our play death animation, and we'll want to copy our logic before we update our health bar. So let's copy this, come over to enemy battle monster. So now for our tween, we'll need to know our health bar's position. So let's copy the lines of code here for those variables. We'll add them here. So for our starting position, we don't need to change anything, but for our ending position, we want to go to our left. So we'll do -600. Now when we skip our battle animations, we'll just want to hide our health bar container. So let's copy that from our player battle monster class. So now down on our tween, we shouldn't need to change anything else. So let's go ahead and save. Now if we talk to our NPC, we'll try to battle one more time. So if we knock out the enemy monster, the health bar disappeared, our NPC shows up, shows our message, nice. So now one last change we'll do is we're going to handle the case if our enemy NPC beats us. So right now in our post-battle sequence check, if all of our monsters get knocked out, we say, hey, our monster fainted, we have no more monsters, and we escape to safety. We'll want this to be dynamic based on if we're battling an NPC or not. And so we'll say, hey, our monster fainted, but if we're battling an NPC, we'll say that NPC name has won our battle. So inside our if statement, we'll add a new variable. So we'll do const, do our text will be equal to. So if this is a trainer battle, then we're just going to show our scene data, our NPC's name, and we'll say has won the battle. Otherwise, we'll show our message we show now. We'll copy this, we'll paste it here. Now for our array, we'll update this to have our text variable. Now if we want to test our change, let's go into our monsters.json file. We're going to revert our change for the current HP, but we're going to update our current attack, and we'll set it to be 50. So now if we talk to our NPC, let's get into our battle. So now our enemy will knock us out. We'll say our junior trainer has won the battle, and then we end our scene. So we'll revert our change for our current attack, and let's go ahead and save. Alright, that's going to wrap up this episode of Monster Tamer. In our next video, we're going to work on adding in our logic to our NPC for when our NPC still has active monsters during our battle. So we'll test our scenario if our NPC has more than one monster, and then we'll add in logic to display how many monsters our NPC has in our battle. You can find the completed source code for this video in the description below, along with the links to the full series if you need to catch up. If you enjoyed this episode, give it a thumbs up. It really helps others find the series. And if you've been enjoying these phaser tutorials and want to support the channel, I've set up a Ko-fi page. Even a one-time coffee helps me keep making more content like this, and the link's down in the description. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you'll know as soon as the next episode is out. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.